Today on day 19 we took the first train of the whole trip from one end of Lithuania to the other. I can't wait to try to pronounce this. Hi, I'm Jeremy. Thanks for watching. Today was kind of a simple day. We moved from the capital of Lithuania, Vilnius, to this town called Šiauliai. It rhymes with how high. My first reading of the day was 275, which was so upsetting that I forgot to take a picture of it. I just laid down between the two beds in our room in Vilnius, looking like a black cat on a carton of Vilnius yogurt. You know what I mean? You don't know what I mean? Like a black cat on a carton of Vilnius yogurt? It's a Lithuanian thing. Now, we're not criminals, but here's what happened when we tried to check out of the Opera Inn in downtown Vilnius. We had a certain train we had to catch at a certain time, but there was nobody at the front desk. We waited and we called out names and nobody came. There was just no staff around. And we couldn't wait forever, so at the very last minute, we just took off. So the 2 nights here were free. Not our fault, we're willing to pay, but if no one takes the money, what can you do? And so me and Masayo, the fugitives from the law, got our last look at Vilnius as we set out walking through the morning sun towards the train station. And Vilnius looked great in the morning sun. The pigeons were keeping it real. We rubbed the belly for good luck. And we saw this weird little sculpture on a pole. Now remember that, because that's a big sign of things to come in Šiauliai. We also stumbled across a small park in Vilnius that was very special to me. I'm in Vilnius, Lithuania, and I'm in the Old Town section. And this spot I'm standing on is a very important spot in Lithuanian history. This is where, in 2007, Michael Palin filmed part of his New Europe tour. And he was talking to some guy, and people were singing. He was in front of this building here. And if you look further behind me, you can see some of the other buildings from Michael Palin's video. And here I am. So, ball's in your court, Palin. After getting slightly lost, we finally made it to the Geležinkelio Stotis. You know, Geležinkelio Stotis? Oh, you don't speak Lithuanian. Train station. It's a Lithuanian thing. Luckily, we were able to buy our last-minute tickets, and we sat and waited for the train on the platform. It all seemed very exotic to me. The old Vilnius to Klaipėda train that also stops in Šiauliai. We ran around like monkeys, taking pictures of each other through the window. And right on time, the clean and roomy train left the station and we got a look at the Lithuanian countryside. Our only other look at it was a couple days ago when we went from Latvia to Vilnius and everything was foggy and cloudy and drab. Today it was much nicer because when the sun is out, everything is different. These nice farms and fields just rolled by, the train chugged along. I mean, it wasn't all beautiful, to be honest, but even the ugly parts were at least comforting and inviting. Also making the mood kind of cheerful was my blood sugar, which was 188. Not perfect, but way better than it has been. We eventually pulled into Šiauliai, which has its own Geležinkelio Stotis. Whatever, you know, train station. The train pulled out and left us standing there in the middle of Šiauliai, a new and exciting but quiet town. This was our first look at it, really. Quite a lot like Vilnius. If you travel overland and not by airplane, the travel guides will often do this for you. They will kind of make the transition from one place to another kind of smooth. So the giant city of Vilnius had all its cathedrals and churches and everything. Well, here in this small town, the first thing you see is this church. I think this kind of thing is cool. Lithuania continues to impress. Our room was in this apartment block and it had a wonderful name, Pigi Nakvina, or something like that. It was a really luxury apartment, at least for our standards. A large living room, a full kitchen, and a huge bedroom, even a desk for working. There was a view out the window onto a lovely little park, and the whole thing was only 28 euros a night, split between me and Masayo. Let's see you do that in Paris. Lunch was in a local shopping center. Not silly pika, but chili pizza. My blood sugar here was 140. I took my shot through my Bluffworks pants sitting at the table, and lunch was pretty good. Masayo tried to find information about the tourist office on her phone so we could get a local map. And we enjoyed weird oversized jars of water. Hey. Then we went and walked around Šiauliai a little bit. Oh, there's the tourist office. And we noticed something very odd about the place. There was a plague of weird sculptures. Most of them were on poles, and most of them were very odd depictions of different kinds of animals. Not all were animals, but they were all very quirky. Must be some kind of Šiauliai thing. And as we walked around this town, I kept thinking, you know, this would be a nice place to live, at least for a short time. The residential areas look very sunny and comfortable. I mean, it's not all beautiful, but that just makes it more interesting. But it wasn't all perfect. Back in the room, I was 302. Thank you, chili pizza. Now, since we had a full kitchen, Masayo offered to make an actual meal for us. We got cheese and crackers and chocolate milk. Those are probably my doing. And meatballs and fish cakes and a salad. It was truly an excellent meal and not too terribly carb heavy, although I took a big Humalog shot because I was already high. Now, Lithuania prides itself on having very fast internet, and we found that that is indeed the case. I know future generations watching this video will probably think this is pretty slow, but at this time, 4.5 megabytes a second, I think was the fastest I'd ever seen anywhere. And speaking of technology, maybe it's just my simple little pack it up and go and hit the road philosophy, but I always wonder why people buy large screen TVs and they have a laptop computer. Can't you just watch the same thing on your smaller computer, put the screen closer, and then not have to worry about the hassle of owning a big thing across the room? Well, I tested this theory out here in Piggy Nakvina, and quite frankly, I feel vindicated. I can't tell the difference. It's easier to throw a laptop in your bag and hit the road than a gigantic TV set that just weighs your life down and prevents you from going anywhere, like an anchor on a boat in a harbor. A little bit later, I got my highest reading of the entire trip so far, 386. 386. I took a bunch of Humalog, then 2 hours later, I was still 283. 2 more units of Humalog and we went to sleep. So diabetes aside, great day. A good thing and a bad thing. Oh, the good thing has to be the train. I thought there would be more here in Europe, but I guess in this weird part of Europe, there aren't. The bad thing is actually the fact that we got that hotel for free in Vilnius. I didn't know what else we could have done. We were trying to pay and nobody would take our money, but I hope they're not angry. Sorry, guys. Diabetes thoughts. The average of all my readings today was 262. Now the trip average of all 19 days so far is an even 200. Spoiler alert, this is going to be the highest that it reaches, but still terrible. Now after dinner I really expected to be low. But not only did I not go low, I didn't go down to 70 to 130, I didn't even stay high. I went higher, 386. Something's up, because that's not just Humalog. Tomorrow we're going to visit a hill made of tens of thousands of crosses. We're going to walk through a graveyard under a big spooky moon. And we're going to run into a gigantic iron fox who lives next to an energy labyrinth. Turns out that Šiauliai is much weirder than we thought.